Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're off to a bit of a late start in the comms box. We've missed a few moments of qualifying. Seems like we've missed the first 6 minutes. 12 and a half minutes remaining on the clock. This is SAFRL. It's Wednesday night, and this is Tier 2. Evening, Death Queen. Welcome back. I still need to sort out this sound issue. I can't hear a thing. So far it appears Mr. Rem, he's on provisional pole. It's a 1:15.0, and then quite the gap, 15.8 down to Pantry Star in P2, so 8 tenths of a second covers the front row. It's a lot bigger than expected. Gotsy P3, Skull P4, Top Gun P5, Chums, Spikes, Andre. Those are the drivers to have set lap times. We still wait for lap times from Imola, Race of Pace, Captain Morgan, and Cyber. We'll ride now with Imola. Seems to be, is he on a quick lap or is he charging up? Seems like he's having a second go at it because those are used tires and he hasn't set a lap time yet, so we go reset lap time, but I don't think that's a representative lap time. 1:36, obviously just a lap where he was going around charging up to do the real thing. You can see he's charged up his ERS, he's ready to go, and he knows he needs something good, something special to get him to the top of this field. I'll be right back. So Mr. M still has that fastest lap time. We're riding with Mola. Remember, he's one of the quick drivers yet to set a lap time. And as we say, that goes up into P2, 1:15.6. Still a big gap between the drivers on the front row, 6 tenths of a second. Pantry Star, already out on track, looking to improve. Current best 15.8. Then Gotsy, 15.6. Sorry, that's a 16.3. Rather big gaps in the field going into this race, and if you did watch the race on Monday, then some things to expect. Very possibly safety cars and lots of penalties. Evening, Skull. The Orange Army indeed. Had a strong season so far. There are your Constructors' Championship standings. McLaren nicely in front, 214 points. They're followed by Aston Martin, 179. And then Ferrari a little further back in third place. Another good performance today by McLaren will really cement that Constructors' Championship. And Aston Martin needs a good result tonight to prevent that from happening. But unfortunately, if you're an Aston Martin fan, there's only one of them out on track. Well, in real life, if you're an Aston Martin fan, you're pretty much faced with the same problem. There's only one of them out on track. Mr. Rem currently the fastest man on the circuit, out on track. To improve that brilliant lap time already. Remember, he's got 6/10 above his nearest competitor, and now he's looking to increase that gap even further, rub some salt into the wounds. It's quite the painful feeling, trust me, when you're chasing down someone's lap time, trying so hard, and eventually you get so close to that lap time, and they come out and just beat it by half a second, and you're like, no. It's happened many times to me. So currently in P5, 1:16.3, almost just 300ths of a second away from Gotzi, also 16.3. Then we have only 3 drivers in the 15s, and they're very spread out. 15.0 for the pole sitter, 15.6 for P2, and 15.8 for P3. Ace of pace, no lap time. I believe he does have, let me just confirm that. That's a good time for the computer to go slow. There we go. Ace of pace won't be going out on circuit as he has a quali ban. So we won't be seeing him out on track, at least for qualifying. Top Gun, the one and only Red Bull on the track tonight, 1:15.9. He becomes the 4th driver into the 1:15s. He'll be happy with that, but needs to find a little more if he wants to get himself onto the front row, and if he wants to get himself into P1, he needs to find just under a second. That is the difference between P1 and P4, 1 second. This is Captain Morgan. He's in the second of the Williams. His teammate up in P8. That's Spike, 16.5. Captain Morgan very close on the 1 lap pace. 1:16.6, so just a 10th behind his teammate. Chums coming into the pits. His best time is 16.7. We ride with the horse, currently in P3. A lot of drivers now getting themselves down into those 15s, but the time above everybody else is that McLaren of 15.0. There's just nothing close to it at the moment. Captain Morgan awfully close to getting into the 15s, 16.0. Then the second McLaren. Mr. M coming out again. Pretty sure we saw him out on track a few moments ago, but he did not improve on that lap time, so I wonder if he bailed out or just didn't find an improvement. He's going out again at the end of the session to see if he can be the first man tonight to pop it into the 14s. I had to get ready really quickly, so I'm not sure everything is working 100%. Just let me know if all the audio is okay. on your side there in the comment section. Mr. Rem on that outlap will keep an eye on that McLaren to see if he can indeed put that car into the 14s. Pantry Star, he wants to get onto the front row at very least. Front row, not too much of a task, just needs to find himself 2/10. But if he wants to get into P1, he needs 8/10 of a second, just short of a full second. Where is that? McLaren is still on an outlap, going awfully slowly. Imola also on an outlap. Skull remains in the pits. Pantry Star going very slowly, also winding up for a lap. It'll be an exciting close to the session. Mr. Rem, Imola, Pantry Star. Three of the top 4 drivers out on track looking to improve. Remember, 15-0 for Mr. M. And we ride on board with your current provisional pole sitter. As he goes into the first chicane here at Imola. Very easy to go over the white lines on this circuit, invalidate the lap, cancel out all the work you've done. You want to run wide, use the curve, use all of the track, but not too much of it. That will bite you. That'll cancel your qualifying lap, and if it's in a race, you get a warning. If you get 3 of them, penalties start racking up. I think we may have stayed on the McLaren a little bit too long. Just losing it on the exit of the chicane, maybe getting a bit too greedy on the throttle, wanting to go early, and just losing out. But he's got a fantastic time under his belt nonetheless. 15-0 should feel confident to be able to hold on to that. But let's see what Moller can come up with. He's in sector 3, coming towards the end of his lap. Currently in P2, 15-6. That's the closest we've got so far. And he does improve. He improves an awful lot. But it's not enough to improve his position. But at least it closes up that gap on the front row. Very nicely done. Late in the quali session for Mr. M. For Moller, rather. Mr. M, he lost it on the exit of the chicane. You gotta wonder what Mr. M could have come up with. Was a 14 possible? Was his delta red? Is that why he got on the throttle a little early, looking for that little extra? Was he in the green? We'll never know. But we almost saw a 14 here tonight. Quali session has come to an end. We're just waiting for something, not quite sure what, but then we'll be underway. Remember on Monday we had, was it 5 safety cars and 1 virtual? Something like that. Hopefully we don't see too much of that tonight. I had to come up with a lot of filler. A lot of quiet time on the racetrack. And to you guys in the comment section, you've been very lazy. I've got no poll predictions. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. At least I need a podium prediction. Give me a podium prediction or a driver of the day prediction. Some very fast drivers with quali bands, and we could see them coming through the field later on. Earlier on we mentioned the Constructors Championship. This is your Drivers Championship. Pantry Star leads the championship, 142 points, and then he's followed by the two McLarens. Andre on 116 and today's pole sitter on 98 points. That's Mr. Rem. And Imola still very much in the battle, also on 98 points in 4th place. Here are your official results for qualifying. Mr. Rem taking pole position, 15-0. Imola coming so close at the end, 15-1, just 800ths of a second between the front row. Then Andre P3, Skull P4, Pantry makes up the top 5. He's followed by Top Gun, Captain Morgan, Gotzi, Spikes, Cyber. And then outside the top 10, Chums, Welsh, and Ace of Pace. And we're back. Now remember, I didn't mention it in qualifying, but it was all a bit of a rush. So this is a sprint night. So we're going to first have a sprint race, and then that sprint race will determine the starting grid for the feature. So this is a very important race. If you did not get the qualifying session you wanted, this is your opportunity to make your way through the field and get a much better starting position for the feature race, and that's the one with the big points. 5 red lights sort of creeped us up on us there, and we're underway. McLaren versus Ferrari into turn 1, and hopefully everybody gets through here nicely. Seems to be the case. Don't see any carbon fiber, don't see any contact. Fantastic start. Mr. Rem P1, Moller P2, and where did Andre come from? The second McLaren now in P3, Skull P4, Pantry Star makes up the top 5. Then we have the lone Red Bull Top Gun in P6, Captain Morgan P7, Gotzi P8, Spikes P9, and Chums the final scoring position in P10. Cyber and Ace of Pace 11 and 12, and Welsh making up the field. I said it would be very important for the Aston Martin team to get that second car in the race, and they do have both cars in the race. They need both those cars in the points, and preferably they need both those cars in the points ahead of both McLarens. Nice allotment of points on hand today if you're able to dominate. Mr. Rem goes over the line, 119.5. And he is setting the pace so far. He leads just over half a second. Similar gap from P2 to P3. And the McLarens showing why they're leading the Constructors Championship. It's consistency. Might not be all out race wins, but it just shows you what showing up and doing well every time can do for a Constructors' Championship. Remember, there have been Formula 1 champions that only won one race the year they were champion. I think the most recent example of that would be a MotoGP champion in 2020, Alex Rins, I believe. He only won one race in 2020, and he became MotoGP champion. Mr. Rem setting the pace again, 17.5, fastest lap of the race so far. Mola P2, Andre P3, the gap between the top three remaining very similar. Just bring out the tyre screen for the viewers at home, and as you can see, large majority of the field, 10 of the cars starting on the medium, and then the other 3 cars starting on the soft. All of those soft runners are at the back of the field, and that explains the strategy, hoping to come through the field. Let's just go to Ace of Pace. Unfortunately, we missed his pit stop, but I wonder if he had some sort of damage, because he's coming out of the pits on a fresh set of softs, and he's now 35 seconds adrift from the rest of the field. So I'm not sure of the situation there with Ace of Pace. If anybody does know or has any sort of confirmation, let me know. Mr. Rem leads out at the front. Look at the gap, 1.1 seconds. He's broken DRS crucially. As DRS becomes a factor in this race, he's broken it, and that means he should be able to get away from Mola, and Mola will have a McLaren very much in his DRS. McLaren looking to make tonight a 1-2 for the Orange Army. Now, the chat has told me in the past that the Orange Army is not in fact Max Verstappen, it's Mr. Rem and Andre. Mola doing a good job. He's reeling Mr. Rem in ever so slightly. He's got back into DRS, 9/10 of a second, and he's actually starting to break away from Andre, so maybe just finding his rhythm now a little bit. Obviously remember, start of the race very frantic. Can't just take your normal racing lines and your normal braking points, because you're trying not to run into people. And then when clear air does start to form, you can just get into your rhythm, start to feel the car out, feel the setup out, and within a couple of laps everything is running perfectly. That's why you'll see sometimes these gaps, they get big in the beginning of the race, suddenly they start to drop. It's just that driver behind finding his feel on the pedal. Obviously in a sprint race, one of the things you should probably consider is tyre management. If you're on that soft, you're going to have to make it last 11 laps, and it will probably drop off a cliff on those last 2 laps. So you need to keep that in mind. While the tyre may be a great tyre to help you get through the field, it may be a sitting duck at the end of the race. But so far none of those soft runners seem to be able to make an impression on the points paying positions. Final points paying position is this man here, the Alpine Cyber. He's chasing Spikes just ahead of him, Gotti just ahead of him. Long DRS train here involving Cyber, Spikes, Gotti, Skull, and Captain Morgan leads that DRS train. Lots of pressure to lead a DRS train. Remember, when you're leading a DRS train, you're the only car without DRS. So depending on how many angry swarming Formula One cars you have behind you can become a stressful situation, and the best idea is not to look in the mirror. And we start P4, 1.5 seconds adrift from podium positions. Remember, he's your championship leader. He's got his victories, but when he hasn't won, he's been up there every time. And that's all you need to do, is be in the points every single time. And if your main competitor is winning a race every now and then and not doing well the next 2 or 3 races, you have that consistency to be in the top 5. And it really shows at the end of the season, and we're nearing the end of the season. Obviously we just have the 1 round to go next week. Hope all of you are gonna join us next week, Monday and Wednesday night, for the finales of Tier 1, Tier 2, Season 6 SAFRL. Obviously they're gonna be at the Red Bull Ring, if I'm not mistaken. Nice place to end off a season. Mr. M still leading the way, Imola still close behind. Half a second. And Andre has sort of lost touch with those 2 cars ahead of him. Remember, all on the same strategy. Everybody started on mediums, planning on taking the mediums to the end. Obviously taking the mediums to the end, unless you have any serious misfortunes. So far, compared to Monday night, much more successful sprint race. We're on lap 7 of 11. And we've had no stops. I probably shouldn't have said that, but we'll probably be fine because I acknowledged it. Andre, Mr. M, he's just been passed. That was obviously just out of the DRS straight. And he's got ahead of Mr. M. Moller gets ahead of Mr. M just before the chicane. And now with just a few laps to go, things have changed hands. And now Mr. Rem will become the driver chasing for the first time in this race. I think with DRS, depending on the effectiveness of DRS on the given circuit, do you really want to be in the lead on the final lap? Something you would have seen before if you watch Moto3 or if you watch IndyCar racing at the ovals. Sometimes being in the lead isn't always the plan. The plan is to be close to the lead and pounce at the perfect moment. But for now, Moller seems to have the pace. 0.8 of a second. If he's able to break that DRS, McLaren's going to have his hands full. Crucial that Mr. M stays within DRS. Now Pantry Star gets past the second McLaren. The McLaren's dropping in positions. We're looking certain for a double podium. First and third. Now second and fourth. Things have changed hands. Moller leads the way. Mr. M P2 still in close pursuit. Just half a second between those cars. Then Pantry Star. He has cleared that second McLaren, but unfortunately for him, he's 3.8 seconds adrift from the top 2. So he's going to have to start working on that gap, closing that gap. He can't rely on strategy. He can't rely on safety car. There's only 2 laps left. And he can't rely on pit stops. This is a race to the end. 3.7 seconds. Everyone in front of him is on the same tyre. So don't think he's going to be able to close this gap. And his main target will be holding on to that podium. Meanwhile, Moller hasn't been able to clear Mr. M. In the very beginning when he passed him, looked like he had the advantage on the McLaren, was just opening up that gap. But as you can see in DRS, look at that, that gap was 0.8 of a second, and by the time they get to the chicane, 3, 2, 2.5 tenths. strong DRS zone around this circuit. But if Mr. M is going to retake the lead, he needs to start thinking very seriously about when he intends to do that. Andre gets back past. Pantry Star gets now demoted to P4. And a McLaren double podium is back on the cards. Currently 4th place in the championship. Leading the sprint race. Maybe he'll collect 8 points. And not only will he collect 8 points, he will collect pole position for the feature race. Obviously Imola, one of the more classic circuits on the F1 calendar. While DRS has helped a lot, not the easiest track to pass on, but as you can see, these guys are making it happen. Good defense there, Mr. M. Imola P2, Andre, he's just out of touch with the top 2, unfortunately. Would love to see a battle of 3 or 4 drivers for the podium, everybody on each other's gearbox in a DRS train. But unfortunately, while these cars have battled for 3rd place, the leaders out front, I think this time Mr. M, he's not letting that Ferrari come back at him. He's making sure of it. 9/10 of a second is the gap, and it's the final lap. He does not want that Ferrari to come back at him. He's had enough of that. And Andre, he'll know, double podium on the cards. And not much longer to go. Where is your leader? Here he is, heading for the main straight, heading for the start-finish line. And your winner of the sprint race here in Imola for Tier 2, Mr. M, followed by Mola, Andre P3, so we do get the double McLaren podium. Your championship leader, Pantry Star in P4, Top Gun P5, Gotti P6, Cyber P7, and that final point goes to Cyber as a result of penalties next to Captain Morgan's name. Captain Morgan goes down to 9th, just outside the points. Chums P10, Spikes goes over the line, P11. And now we're just waiting for the last 2 drivers out on track. That's Ace of Pace, he goes over the line now. That race didn't go according to plan for him. And unfortunately for him, lots of times a safety car would have brought him back into the race. But tonight, we didn't get one. Something to bear in mind for the race. If you watched Monday night and thought, okay, I'm going to horribly underfuel, maybe you shouldn't do that. So there are your results. Mr. M takes the victory, Mola P2, Andre P3, that's your podium, 2 McLarens and a Ferrari, Pantry Star P4, Top Gun P5, Gotti 6, Skull 7, and Cyber, the last point. No points, but they'll get a second opportunity at it. P9 Captain Morgan, P10 Chums, Spikes 11, Ace of Pace P12, and the second Aston Martin of Welsh in P13. He'll want to get that Aston Martin up into the points for that Constructors title. Here we go, we're back. And we're ready. We're ready for the feature race. We're ready for the real deal. The the one that's worth 25 points, the one you want to win. Winning a sprint race is fantastic, it feels good, but winning the main race, that's the one everyone wants. Guys taking your time on their strategy. Obviously, if you base this strategy on Monday, well, there's nothing really to base it on. There's a safety car every couple of laps. We hardly had DRS. Gaps weren't allowed to form. So this will probably be a very different race. Guys aren't going to be able to take hints from Monday night. But hopefully they take enough from Monday night to see what a disaster Imola can be. And everyone needs to drive very nicely. There we go. 5 red lights. I was starting to think there was a problem, but we're underway and it's going to be similar to the sprint race. It's McLaren versus Ferrari. Andre starts in P3, but it's not about where you start, it's about where you are when you come out of turn 1. Mr. Rem leads the way from Imola. Andre P3, that order stays the same. Pantry Star P4, Skull P5. There are some cars that have dropped to the back of the field. That's Top Gun and Cyber. Wonder if there was a collision between those two drivers. They've both dropped to the rear of the field at the same time. Gonna assume there was contact between the two. Mr. Rem leads. Mola still P2. And Andre already starting to lose touch with those top two. As we saw in the sprint race, they were in a class of their own. They were able to open up a gap to the rest of the field. And now those two already have a 1.5 second gap between them and the car in P3. As for that car in P3, well, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Look at all those cars behind him. All the way down to Ace of Pace, who's having a better race this time round. He's up into P8. He'll be hoping to keep his nose clean. Come through the field as cleanly and as effectively as possible. And hopefully a pit stop can also help him pick up a few positions on his way to the top. Mr. Rem, 120.9. His lap times will come down. They're pretty slow now, but that's because the cars are full of fuel. As for your tyres, look at your leader. The leader's on a very different strategy. Mr. Remy's on the hard compound, which should be the slowest tyre, especially at the start of the race. But he's doing a fantastic job because he's able to hold on to that lead. Mr. Rem on the hard compound is going to be going deeper into this race, and Mola knows that. Mola knows he should be in front of the McLaren and trying to open up some sort of a gap. For the time being, he's not able to get that full benefit of the medium tire because he's driving around behind a car that's on the slower tire. Another different strategy, very different strategy, different side of the spectrum. Pantry Star in P3, he's on a set of softs. Started on the quickest compound. So he wanted to get himself through the field and as high up in the order as possible. We have some changes there in the midfield. Look at that, cars going side by side. Gotzi and a Williams, and now Gotzi might lose a second position, and he does. Just like that, loses one position on corner entry, loses a second position on corner exit. And in a matter of meters, you lose 2 positions. And racing can be tough. It can be harsh. So difficult to make up a position, so difficult to make a clean pass, make up a position, and you can lose 2 positions. Just like that. Obviously the first pass put him a little bit offline, made him lose a little bit of momentum, and then the AlphaTauri was also able to attack. Cyber, Welsh, Spikes, 11, 12, 13, no points for tonight. They need to get up the field. They still have a long time, but they want to get on the move now. Lap 4 of 32 and your leaders have just swapped. Imola goes into the lead of the race, courtesy of DRS, and Mr. M. He's going to have to use some DRS of his own to make sure that Ferrari isn't able to get down the road. Remember, Mr. M should have the superior grip on those mediums in the early stages of the race. Mr. M will only have a tyre advantage when those mediums begin to drop off, and they are very far from doing that. We mentioned Monday night earlier on, and there we go, the first remnants of Monday night. We have a safety car on lap 4. I think it took 3 laps on Monday night, so good going. The race will be neutralized, and this is the most annoying thing for the leaders. When you've got that strategy in mind, you know what you want to do, when you want to pit, and then suddenly this happens. All the cars behind you start making pit stops, the order starts switching up, you don't know what's going on, everybody's changing everything. Sometimes you just want to have that start to finish race where you can actually complete your strategy. See, there's some cars choosing to come into the pits. It'll be interesting what those cars do and what tyres they emerge from the pits on. Let's just have a look at, you can see one of those runners, Pantry Star. Let's put on a set of hards. What about Spikes? Spikes comes into the pits, set of mediums. And what about Gotzi? Gotzi on a set of softs. So lots of drivers trying lots of different things. And although the 3 drivers at the front have been the 3 dominating drivers on the night, you could see a very different result. We've seen this in the past. Safety car comes out, brings the field together. Safety car goes in, you have a restart. Safety car comes back out. Drivers at the front start getting frustrated. They start driving with a little bit of anger. And what happens then is mistakes creep in. So you could very well have a situation where, even though those are the dominating drivers, it's just going to take one moment where really anyone in this field could find themselves at the top. But for now, it's going to be Ferrari out front, Mr. MP2, Andre P3. Remember, every time we go under safety car, the guys use a lot less fuel. So if you have not underfueled the car for the race, it means you're going to have a little extra than you'd like at the end. A little bit of extra weight to tow around the track. The question is, how much do you underfuel? We've had races in the past where the leader, with 4 or 5 laps to go, has seen that he needs to do extreme fuel management to get to the end of the race, and we've seen guys suddenly dropping down the field, and that's because that's what they're doing. So you've got to make sure it's a roll of the dice, and if you don't get any safety cars, you'll end up with a very heavy car. And if you leave the fuel on a normal level and you get a ton of safety cars, well, I've seen drivers finish with +3 and +4. Obviously, every litre of fuel is worth, no, not every litre, I think every kilo of fuel is worth 0.3 of a second, something like that. So the drivers will want the safety car to get out of the way so they can burn some fuel and lighten those cars up, make them a little bit more racy. It's not the way you want to spend your Formula 1 Grand Prix. Going behind a safety car. Make no mistake, that Aston Martin you see on screen is a very quick car, but in comparison to those Formula 1 cars, they're very annoyed. Safety car will come in. You can see there on the track map he's pulling off into the distance. We didn't see the confirmation, but we can see the safety car pulling off. We can see Imola backing up the field. We can see the McLarens putting pressure on that Ferrari. One going either side, just letting him know there's not one of us, there's two of us. But it's all about the restart, and if Imola can get the jump on those McLarens, they will have no chance into turn one, and it seems like he has got the jump. 0.6 of a second is the gap between P1, P2 as they go over the start-finish line. Imola closely followed by his teammate. Mr. M, sorry, closely followed by his teammate. Welsh just one position away from getting that Aston Martin up into the points. He's in P11. Well, still out front, 0.7 of a second. Mr. M P2, Andre P3. Skull trying to hold on to those podium positions, but now he's going to start coming under pressure from the AlphaTauri. Man who wanted to come up through the field in the sprint race, things didn't really go according to plan, landed up in 12th place. And now in the feature race, he's determined. He's determined not to switch off his console tonight without some serious points. Skull in P4, but under all sorts of pressure. And the more pressure he gets, the more that top 3 is going to be able to pull away, because Skull is going to be looking in his mirrors more than he's looking in front. And there we go, Ace of Pace does make the pass, picks up another position, goes up into P4. And so far, Ace of Pace is on a driver of the day performance. It's now 1.8 seconds adrift from the podium finishes. So he's got a bit of work to do, but now he's got some clean air. Try and find that rhythm I was speaking about. When you've been in the middle of the field for so long, and then you get some clear air, it actually feels really good. Further back, Top Gun 6. Remember, he had an incident earlier on. Spikes in P9. Welsh has got that Aston Martin up into the top 10. As for his teammate, championship leader, down in P8, playing the long game. It's on a set of hards, a relatively new set of hards. I think he got those hards under the safety car. He's playing the long game. 8th place might not look good now, but that's not where he intends on finishing. Ooh, and we've had, was that contact? I'm not sure. But we had an Alpine. Looked like the Alpine went off the track, but he seems to have regained his composure, regained his momentum. Pantry Star P7. And he pursues the Red Bull of Top Gun. He's having a battle of his own with Ace of Pace. Top 3 remain the same, but Imola, he is now starting to get the advantage of those medium tires, and I should not have said that, goodness me. As I was about to say that Imola was now starting to get the advantage of the medium tires, starting to build a bit of a gap, out comes the safety car, and who's going to do what? None of the leaders are pitting. And obviously a whole bunch of cars pit under the previous safety car. But there we go, look at that. 4 cars into the pits. So people are thinking different strategies, different ideas. Remember, you have to use 2 compounds in the race. And what these safety cars do is they can give you a free pit stop. But now every time this field gets a little separated, safety car comes back out to bring everybody close together again. Lap 10 of 32, race is neutralized. Second safety car of the evening. We had no safety cars in the sprint race. It was a very good sprint race, very little incidents from what I could see. But as far as the feature race goes, you may be having memories, recent memories of Monday night. We're under safety car again, so if you'll just excuse me for a minute, I will be back. I will leave the audio on and you can enjoy Imola driving behind the safety car for a minute. I'll be back. We're back. We're still under safety car. Just needed to open up some doors and try and cool down the comms box. Very, very hot in the comms box. Not quite so hot out on track. Everybody wishing they were going a whole lot faster. Seems like the field is already together. Just the Ferrari of Gozzi trailing behind, but he's going to catch that cue very quickly. And I wonder if we might get confirmation of safety car in this lap, or if the safety car is going to have another go at it. There we go, safety car in this lap, confirmation, and hopefully the final safety car of this evening, so we can get on with things. Imola getting ready for another restart. And he's executed that perfectly. Can't get any better than that. Look at that. Into turn 1 he's already got a 7/10 gap. And that's fantastic. That's the sort of restart you want. Catch the drivers unawares. Make them chase you. Mr. M doing a good job in the early stages. That's half a second the gap. Ace of pace. He actually made up a position at the restart, so he's up into P3. And if he's able to bring this car home, I think there's no question of your driver of the day. Just bring up your positions. There we go, ace of pace. He's made up 9 positions since the start of the race. What a race he's having. And because of the safety cars, it's given him the ability now to fight P1, P2. Remember, if he had to come through that field by himself, by the time he got to 3rd place, he would have found the 2 leaders pretty far out, and he would have had to do quite some work to catch them. But because the safety car has been coming out every couple of laps, he's now in 3rd and sitting pretty just behind the leaders. So many drivers in this field. I'm not even going to say in the top 10. I think in this entire field could still potentially win this race. It's all going to come down to, is there another safety car? And really, does that safety car fall at the right moment for you? And if it does, when the field is this close, anything can happen. Another thing for all the drivers, remember, when the field is this close, the last thing you want is to start racking up penalties. But that is one aspect that's been brilliant tonight so far. Lap 13 of 32. Still no, should I say it? I swear, if a penalty pops up onto the screen right now. Okay, nothing. Lap 13 of 32. And no penalties so far. Fantastic driving so far by everyone in the field. Almost had a heart attack. I thought that was going to be a penalty. Imola leads the way, 7/10 of a second. Mr. MP2 and now Ace of Pace has thrown himself into this battle. Pantry Star, don't forget about Pantry Star. He leads the championship. Definitely a strong competitor in this season. Can't forget about him. He's just in P4. Close enough to see all of the action in front of him, but not close enough to make a potential move right now. Everyone will be hoping no more safety cars. They want to get on with this. They want to get back into DRS. As for your leaders, it doesn't seem like their strategy changed at all. In fact, P1, P2, P3, all of those cars on 13 lap all tyres, which means they started on those tyres. Everyone else in the field, with the exception of Chums, has made a pit stop under the 1st or 2nd safety car. Evening, Panda. Welcome to the stream. Comment section was very quiet, so glad to see you there. All out front, 6/10 of a second. We've got a retirement, we've got a caution. I don't want to say it yet. Do we? I think we have a safety car. It's a virtual safety car. But is it though? We shall wait and see. I don't know why something was telling me that this was going to trigger a safety car, but a virtual it is. Luckily for the drivers, this won't cancel out their gaps. Everyone needs to drive within a delta. And you're able to maintain that gap that you had before the virtual safety car was deployed. One lap short. I was about to say 1 lap short of halfway distance, but we are now at halfway distance. There we go. Pantry Star. He is now the new leader as a result for pit stops for Mr. M and Imola. They've also picked up penalties. Your leaders, or the men who were your leaders, they've gone into the pits, and the pair of them have picked up a penalty. Let's just get confirmation. Is that track limits or pit related? It is pit related, 5 seconds apiece. I'm going to assume that's for speeding. And now Mola and Mr. M. I must say I'm a little bit confused. Panda, you're in the comment section. Let me know. You can see the screen, but did Mola make a mistake and fall down to P9 and Mr. M made a pit stop? It looks like they both made a pit stop, but Mola is on 15 lap old mediums. So what was he doing in the pits? Confusing. I'm not quite sure. I missed that. That, though, we didn't miss. Got a car going over the gravel, taking a bit of a shortcut. We've got a caution. And hopefully it stays just a caution. And it does. We're back underway. Skull. Doing great in P6. The leading Ferrari powered car. Yeah, look, the one thing, let's just have a look at the pit stops. Yeah, there we go. I don't understand. Mola had medium tires. He came into the pits. It says there one stop. So he's only been there once. But the stats are saying something different, and now they're saying something completely different. I don't know what's wrong with my timing screen. Now he's on hards. But they have a lot of work to do in this race. Initially, when Mola came out of the pits, it was showing that he was on used mediums, but that has since changed, and it's showing he's on a new set of hards. So I think what happened there, did he have to come back in and change those tires? Or is it still one stop? Yeah, just the one stop. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe a timing screen glitch, something like that. And as for your penalties, got that 5-second penalty for Mr. M. And then a 3-second penalty. The only track infringement penalty of the evening. That's for spikes, 3 seconds. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So Mola went through the pits for a drive-through. Obviously no tire change then. Came out the other side with the same set of tires, and then obviously needed to go into the pits again. And that will explain the massive gap between Mola and Mr. M now. That's how penalties can mess up your race. Everything is going your way. You've got the pace over the rest of the field. Looks like a top 3 is absolutely guaranteed. And then one thing goes wrong. And you find yourself at the rear of the field asking questions. Andre now leads the way. Remember, he's been there and thereabouts the entire night, but he hasn't been quick enough to stay with Mr. M and Mola. And now those drivers find themselves at the rear of the field, and this race has swung in the direction of the second McLaren. Lap 20 of 32. Just 11 runners left in this race. Remember, we started with 13, we've lost 2. That's your 2 safety cars. Down to 11 runners. Only one driver will not score points tonight. It's definitely a race worth finishing. Crossing the start-finish line will almost guarantee you points. Unless you're the unlucky one in P11, and there we go. Safety car number 3. Lap 20 of 32. Still haven't hit the record though. I think on Monday night, in the comment section, people were debating whether the safety car was broken, because we definitely had 2 in the sprint race, that I remember. That's right, 2 safety cars in an 11 lap race. And then in the feature race we had something like 4, maybe 5, and 1 virtual. Now we're sitting on 1 virtual and 3 safeties. Andre comes into the pits. What this safety car has done is it's taken Imola's race that looked like it was completely gone, and it's brought him right back into it. Remember, this will compress the field, and everybody's got an opportunity again, because you've seen what madness can happen at a restart. There's a bit of a mess into the chicane, and you're the driver keeping your nose clean. You can make up 2 or 3 positions at the start. Every time there's a restart, there's an opportunity. With 11 laps to go, safety car is ensuring that we're going to have a close race, because every time we have a bit of a gap, safety car comes out and says, let's keep it close. You can see that gap there between Chums and Cyber, 44 seconds. And when you're in a situation like that and you know you're not going to be able to make any progress in the race, safety car is the only thing that can save you. And the safety car tonight saved a few people a couple of times. Of course, if you have a lights to finish race with no safety car issues at all, and you're able to follow your strategy 100%, if you're the driver that's making errors and everybody else is driving around at full speed, you don't get that second opportunity. If you find yourself in a position where you're 40 seconds back, good luck with that. Good luck with seeing another car in that race. But when we have races like this, it really gives anyone in that field who's willing to throw the dice, and if they win the bet on that night, really anyone can win here. Andre didn't look like he had the pace to beat Mr. Rem or Imola. He was quick. The 2 cars ahead of him just seemed like they had a little extra. But this race has swung, and in the final stint of the race, Andre is going to be in charge of his first safety car restart of the evening, and he's going to lead the field. And it's a strong field. Pantry Star is going to be just behind him in P2, Top Gun P3, Para Williams 4 and 5. And then Mr. M, somebody who's been very strong tonight, he's in P7. Going to have to do some serious passing. He's going to be able to get to the front and challenge his teammate. still two cars at the back of the field. I believe it's a Haas and a Ferrari, so I don't know if we're gonna get going this lap. Hopefully we will. Safety car is still out, no confirmation, no pulling off into the distance, so we're going to have another lap. Or it is in this lap. That was... Is it just me or was that confirmation very, very late? Wow, okay. Andre leads the way. Pantry Star P2 and all sorts of pressure from the Red Bull in P3. He wants to get up into P2 and chase that McLaren. But Pantry Star is not going to let that happen. Shuts the door in the face of the Red Bull. The Red Bull is followed by the two Williams. Those two teammates, they keep on impressing me throughout the season. Their pace, it's really just so similar that you find them near each other on the track very often. And in the quali results, they're right next to each other as well. Very close performance times from the Williams teammates. Mr. Rem in P6, he's about to attempt the first Williams, and he does. Look at that. Went around the outside. That is bravery. But that is also soft tires versus hard tires, and that's what a difference it can make. Now, very strange, because I mean, I was actually talking earlier on in the race that there was no penalties, so I don't know where that penalty for Imola came from, but on our screens at least we didn't have any confirmation of it. Andre still leads the way. Pantry Star, P2. Of course, he wants the lead, but his first objective has to be to stay within a second. If he lets that McLaren get out of DRS, it's going to give himself so much more work. Captain Morgan in P4. His teammate was not able to defend from this man. McLaren simply went around the outside with its superior grip. But this Williams is going to be slightly more difficult to pass. He's not going to have that superior grip because Captain Morgan has the same set of tyres. But he is going to get in the slipstream, and make no mistake, gets out ahead before that chicane. And Mr. M is on the move, and he definitely wants to turn this into a McLaren double podium again. Remember, we saw a McLaren double podium in the sprint race. Where is Imola? Another incredibly fast driver who's had a bit of misfortune tonight, having a recovery race. He's currently in P7, and his next target will be a Williams on hards. He should be able to make light work of that car that should have a serious tyre disadvantage for now. So everybody came in, put on a fresh set of softs, knowing there's just a few laps to the end, and you can really just throw this car around, give it everything, and not worry about tyre management. No one in the field really on an old set of tyres. The exception of Gotzi, 8 laps on those mediums. Maybe finding it really difficult in this point of the race, with all these soft runners around him. just the one car on a set of hards, and that is Spikes. P10, P11. Got the two Haas drivers. One of them is going to get a point, the other one's going to go home empty-handed, so they're going to want to change that. But in order to do that, they need to get past Gotzi. They do have the superior tyre. But then again, I need to look at the timing screen, because Chums is 45 seconds adrift from his teammate. He's hoping for one more safety car to bring him back into this. I think we may have had our limit for the evening. Technically, I think when you get to about 4 laps to go, you can pretty confidently say you're done with safety cars. So we're still in danger territory. Imola gets past the first of the two, or the second of the two Williams, and his next target will be the identical Williams up the road of Captain Morgan. Like I said before, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. That other Williams does have softs. The one he just passed was on a set of hards. Going to be as easy. Pantry Star 1.1 seconds. He's just outside of DRS. They'll be crying for DRS. You forget what a difference DRS makes until you're out of it. Driver in front of you grows the gap a couple of tenths. Every DRS zone you're able to pull those tenths back, cancel out all of that driver's work. But when you're not getting DRS anymore, and those couple of tenths a lap add up, the next thing you know, you're 5 seconds behind the leader. And you don't know how you got there. For the time being, we don't have to worry about any 5-second gaps, because Pantry's doing a fantastic job. 0.6 of a second, he's all over the back of Andre. He's not going to be close this time around, but he needs to stay on the gearbox of that McLaren. And when he gets DRS again, he needs to capitalize. But this time around, he was just a little bit too far away when he initially opened that DRS. Gap 0.6. Mr. Rem a further 2 seconds adrift, but he is making up time, 1.9 seconds adrift. Captain Morgan P4, hoping for some misfortune up the road so that he can claim a podium. Ooh, and that Williams, I think it was the Williams, just jumping around a little bit. Maybe having a few internet issues of his own. Hopefully that's not affecting the drivers around him too much. Let's just try and get a point of view from Mola. From here the Williams does look pretty stable, and as I say that, he just gets a bit of a slide on the exit. Does a good job, holds on to it, no harm done. Mola just giving it everything. Unfortunately, in the closing stages of the race, with this many overtakes to make, it'll be a miracle to get him on the podium. Captain Morgan lining up the pass on the Red Bull. Will he be brave enough? It's about who's latest on the brakes. And very nicely done around the outside. Captain Morgan up into P. Well, it's on to P4. There's Mola, all in P6. Remember, he cleared that first Williams, so getting past the second Williams wasn't going to be as easy. But Morgan has made up a position, so he doesn't. His next target isn't the Williams, it's the Red Bull, and then he can worry about the Williams, and hopefully a podium position. But I wonder if by the time he gets to fourth, those top three will have run away. Andre flirting with the DRS line. Is he going to be in DRS? Is he not? I don't even think he knows 1.1 seconds. I think he's just missed DRS this time around. Yes, he has. He's missed DRS. This is when you really start to feel it. Usually you get this huge acceleration from the car in front of you, almost 6-7 tenths worth of a boost down that straight. And when it comes down to just slipstream, you can see it was about 2 tenths. So big loss when you lose that DRS. He is within DRS again, 8 tenths of a second. Now he just needs to keep it there. Ooh, and we've had a spin, and thank goodness for ghosting, otherwise we would have had a disaster. Top Gun spins in the closing stages of the race, goes down to P10, and we do have a double McLaren podium on the cards. Mr. M was going to have it too tough, too many cars to come through. I think I even may have said it would be a miracle to get a podium. But here he is, he's on a podium, he's in P3, he's dominating at a stage in the race, fighting Imola, then found himself very far back in the field. And what a recovery drive it's been. His teammate is ahead of him on the road. That's Andre. Remember, have a look at that graphic. Look who's leading the championship. 142 points. Now he's in front, leading the race at the very right time. Doesn't matter if you're leading the race in the beginning of the race or the middle of the race. This is when you want to lead the race, right at the end, and you want to get over that start finish line first. Pantry Star, pretty comfortable lead, 1.7 seconds. Not much Cyber can do about a podium position unless somebody has a serious incident. A 3-second penalty for Captain Morgan, followed by another 3-second penalty. I think that was for Cyber. So Cyber will be up to 6 if I'm not mistaken. Alright. Let's just go to your leaders. Mr. Rem leads the way from the two McLarens. Sorry, Pantry Star leads the way from the two McLarens. And you know, he's really come out of nowhere. In the sprint race, he wasn't leading the race. In the opening stages of the race, it looked all about the Ferrari and the McLaren. Looked like it was going to be a battle between Moller and Mr. M to the end. And somehow, through all the events that have happened tonight, through all the safety cars and all the mayhem and the tyre changes, Pantry Star has come out in the lead of the race on the final lap, exactly when you want to be there. The McLarens have swapped positions. Mr. M goes up into P2, Andre goes down into P3, and Pantry Star wins the penultimate round of SAFRL Tier 2. We're going to wait for everybody to come over the line. We're going to wait for the penalties to sort themselves out. Is that a Williams with a broken wing? A very broken wing. Now we wait for Gotzi. Also a very broken wing. Some very broken cars here at the rear of the field. Chums will be your final finisher. Is that a difficult race? The way things go sometimes. and the fastest drivers don't always have a night they want to remember. Driver of the day goes to Skull. Great performance. And there we go. Podium celebrations. Don't enjoy yourself on the podium. That would be quite entertaining. But there we go. Your official results. Pantry Star takes the victory. Started 4th on the grid and converted that into a victory. Mr. M finished P2 at the end of the day. Then Andre P3. That's your podium. 2 McLarens and an Aston Martin. But Skull in P4 is followed by Mola, Cyber, Top Gun Spikes, Captain Morgan and Gotzi, making up the podium positions. Chums finished in P11, and that was the only car outside of the top 10. Obviously Ace of Pace and Welsh were not able to see race distance. Guys, I want to thank you very much for joining us on the stream this Wednesday night. This was the penultimate round of SAFRL for Tier 1 and Tier 2 this week, which means we will be back next week for the final time for this Season 6. We will be in Austria. We'll be at the Red Bull Ring. And I hope to see you all there. I hope to all the viewers that have been with us throughout the season. I hope to see you all there for that finale. And let's have a big stream for SAFRL one last time next week, at least for Season 6. But if you're a fan of the channel, obviously we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be back with DRS, and then again on Sunday with SKR. We also have something coming up on, say, Saturday evening, maybe Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, somewhere there. But I'll give you a little bit more info on that tomorrow night. Till tomorrow night. Thanks for watching the race. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for joining me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.